Today I'm going to teach you step by step how to make this super cute Oh Holy Night door swag using the Deco Mesh Wreath method. Welcome to Stillwater's Wreath Designs. Come on in. Hello Stillwater's friends, how are you today? Come on in. Today we're going to make a black and white themed Christmas door swag. For those of you that are new to the Stillwater's channel, welcome, welcome. We're so happy to have you. Stillwater's Wreath Designs is all about step-by-step DIY wreath and door swag tutorials. We've got new tutorials uploading every single week. So if you like that sort of thing, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button and join us. And for all of my friends who have been here on the channel for a while, I so appreciate you. Thank you for coming back. You guys, I will leave a full materials list for you below in the description of this video so that you can recreate this beauty if you'd like to do so. Of course, if you would just rather purchase today's completed door swag, I'll leave the Etsy link for you below as well. All right, guys, let's dive into creating. We're going to build today's swag on a 24-inch black pine base. So if you're new to wreath making or door swag making, this is what the fluffed out door swag looks like. It's basically like an upside down Christmas tree. When it comes to you in the mail or even from the store, they're usually pretty beaten up and need lots of fluffing, similar to what you would do for an artificial Christmas tree. The wider part is the top part of your door swag, and then it comes down to a point. And then it's also got a hanger at the very top. I always just give that a tug and make sure it's nice and secure. So we've got this guy all fluffed out. The back remains flat. That's the part that rests against you or your customer's door. And as you can see, it's got this nice spine down the back, which really is a great stable base for door swag making. So let me show you the sign. That's kind of the focal point of today's swag. It says Oh Holy Night. This actually came from the Dollar Tree Plus in the plus section. What I like to always mention, guys, is that, you know, what we're doing today is just a recipe. Feel free to make updates based on your personal preferences. This sign is just under 14 inches wide and just under 11 inches tall. So that's a pretty decent sized metal sign for our swag. The first thing we need to do is to get this guy loaded with Deco Mesh and build out our base. I'm going to use this wide striped black and white 10-inch Deco Mesh. I typically start out with 14 pieces of the mesh when I'm working on my swags. Swags are all made a little bit different in terms of density, and then also the number of pieces will vary based on how closely you put them together. So typically I start out with 14 pieces, and then I can always cut more if I need more. And guys, I don't really measure my Deco Mesh. The Deco Mesh pieces are cut between 20 and 24 inches. And I literally just pull my arm straight in front of me at a 90-degree angle and cut. And I know that if my roll is always in the same place and my arm is essentially in the same place, those cuts of mesh will always be nearly the same size. This is just at 21 inches. So anywhere between 20 and 24 inches long is fine. So go ahead and cut 14 pieces of your Deco Mesh between 20 and 24 inches in length. Feel free to measure if that's easier for you, and I'll meet you back here. Once you've got your Deco Mesh pieces cut, it's time to start building out our base. And we're going to use the Woodland Ruffle or Ruffle method. So I would recommend that you grab a chip clip or a clothespin. That'll be super handy when making your ruffles. We'll do 2 of them together and then we'll speed ahead. So if you're new to working with Deco Mesh loves to fray. So anything that we can do as creators to help reduce that fray is always ideal. And the Ruffle method, also known as the Woodland Ruffle, is a great method to reduce that fray. So to make a ruffle, go ahead and grab 1 piece of Deco Mesh and lay it in your workstation curl side up. I'm just going to grab my bolt cutter here and lay that in the middle just to weight that guy down. And then at one end, we're going to curl that end into a cylindrical tube. So just roll that 2 or 3 times and then grab your clip and secure that guy in the middle. And what that does is tuck away those raw edges of your deco mesh to help reduce that fray. Then we'll spin that guy around. We'll make 2 or 3 curls at the opposite end. And then I want you to press down on that curl with your thumbs. And then, let's move our weight here. We'll use our 8 fingers to scrunch and gather or walk that deco mesh back into our hand. All the way to the end of that piece. Release your clip and pinch that guy in the middle, and you've just made your first cruffle. And what a cruffle really is, friends, is basically just curls on the end, ruffle in the middle, hence the cruffle. We're going to come into our pine base, and guys, we're going to add cruffles all the way down one side of our swag base and then come all the way back up on the other side. So we'll start at the top. And to add your cruffle, you're just going to find 2 neighboring pine ties. And then you'll take your cruffle and place it all the way down to the base of your swag. And then you'll use those 2 neighboring pine ties to twist together a couple of tight twists to secure that cruffle in. And it should look just like this. Let's do one more together and then we'll speed ahead. So grab your piece of deco mesh. Lay that in your workstation, curl side up, place something in the middle to hold that guy in place, and at one end, roll that end in 2 or 3 times and secure it with a clip there in the middle. Spin that piece of deco mesh around and curl in the opposite end 2 or 3 times. And then we're going to scrunch and gather that deco mesh back into our hand, all the way to the end of our piece, just like so. Remove that clip, pinch our mesh in the middle, and we've just made our cruffle. We're going to come back into our pine swag base, and just underneath our most recent cruffle, we're going to find 2 neighboring pine ties. We'll take our cruffle and place that all the way at the base between those 2 ties. Then give your pine ties a couple of tight twists to secure that guy in place. And you've just added your second cruffle. So go ahead and add cruffles all the way down one side of your pine base and then back up. You may need to cut a few more pieces. That's totally fine. Make it as full as you'd like, and I'll meet you back here. All right, I've got all of my deco mesh cruffles stuffed into my base. I actually ended up cutting 2 more pieces, so I used a total of 16 pieces of the deco mesh. And guys, just look how full that base has come together. Definitely something that I feel like is a little bit outside of the traditional category for Christmas, but I think it's going to be really elegant. If you've not already done so, go ahead and plug in your hot glue gun. The next step is going to be to add the sign into our swag. You can place this exactly in the center, off to one side, however you like. I'm going to place mine just above that center point, about a hand's distance from the top. And so in the area that you're going to add your sign, you've still got these pine ties poking up. Just kind of press them off to the side. We need to create a somewhat flatter area for our sign. And then go ahead and cut off that twine hanger that came with our sign. And next we're going to use this Jewelry Maker's extra small hole punch. It's great for making really small holes in your signs. I'm going to place one at the top here and one at the bottom. Guys, I'll leave a link for this tool below in case you don't have this in your Wreath Maker's toolkit just yet. Super cost effective. If you don't have one of these, no worries. Just leave that string attached, cut it right in the middle, and then wrap that string right around through. And then just tie it on the back of your door swag, making sure those strings are wrapped around that spine. But if you do have that jewelry hole punch, go ahead and add a hole at the bottom and the top of your sign. And then we're going to use some 16 gauge floral wire stems to attach this guy down in. So I'm just going to fold this into a loose V just to identify that center point here on that floral wire stem, and then we'll run that guy right through and give it a tight twist so that it doesn't get squirrely. And we'll do the same thing here on the bottom hole. And then what we're going to do is just lay this sign where we want it onto our swag base. We'll poke our floral wire stems right through the base, and then we're going to wrap it around that spine of our swag on the back to hold this guy in place. So take a couple of minutes, give yourself some grace. You're going to have to weave through all the deco mesh and your pine ties, so it'll take you a couple minutes. So I've poked that through. I'm making sure that my floral wire stems are around the spine of our swag here. And I'm just giving them a couple of twists. I want to make sure that guy didn't shift and that I'm happy with that placement. I am, although if you can see, it's kind of curved. It's kind of curved, which means I need to release some tension on that bottom piece. So we'll just loosen it up. We'll spin that guy around and see if that's better. Oh yes, that's much better. And so now we'll give that 4 or 5 tight twists at about 80% tension. And then we'll use our small wire snips to trim off those excess bits of floral wire stem. We're going to do the same thing here at the top. Just 3 or 4 more twists so that guy doesn't go anywhere, and we'll trim off those excess bits of floral wire. Then I'm just going to grab my needle nose pliers and kind of pinch those ends together and curl it back into our swag, just so that pokey and scratchy part doesn't scratch our or our customer's door. And then I'm just going to run a quick inch or so bead of glue right where those floral wire stems meet the spine of our swag, and we'll give them a couple minutes to dry. Now that our glue's had time to dry, we're going to move on to a bow. And since we've got this guy placed pretty close to the top, we're going to actually make one bougie bow and place it right below our sign. So let me just scoot our swag off to the side, and we'll make a quick hand bow. Let me show you the ribbon that we'll be using for our bow. We're going to use this 4-inch wide wired black and white check, and it's got a glittery accent, a solid white and a solid black 1.5-inch wired ribbon. You'll just want to grab a standard pipe cleaner. You could also use some floral wire or a zip tie if that's your preference. I'm just going to fold this guy into a loose V, sit him off to the side, and of course you're going to need a good pair of scissors. We'll start with our 4.5-inch. I'm just going to roll some out so I've got some to work with. So as we make our bow, guys, my left hand will be my holding hand and my right hand will be my working hand. We're going to start out with a 10-inch tail. So I'm just going to measure 10 inches. And then I'm going to pinch that, scrunch and pinch, I should say. And then we're going to give that a hard twist because we always want the pretty side to be out. I'm going to want a 5-inch loop, so I'm going to measure out 10 inches because then when I fold it over, it will be a 5-inch loop. So I've measured out to that 10-inch mark. I'm going to pinch and gather, and then I'll fold that guy over back underneath my hand, just like so. So that 10-inch piece becomes a 5-inch loop. And then I'm going to give that a hard twist underneath my thumb. Again, so we've got that pretty side out. We're going to measure out to 10 inches. which will give us a 5-inch loop. I'm just pinching that together, curling that underneath my hand and placing that underneath my thumb. Now we need to make sure our loops are still the same size. You're just going to marry them up like so, and as long as they meet at essentially the same point, not looking for perfection, we'll cut off our tail. So we're just going to measure out to the 10-inch spot and cut off the remaining bits of our ribbon. You guys, if you're new to wreath making, making bows is always such a hard thing to learn. It was the hardest thing for me to learn when I first started. So what I ended up doing was buying different widths of wired ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and I just practiced. There's really no quick and easy way. There are a couple of tools out there like the Easy Bow Maker and the Bow Dabra that might be easier for you, but just give yourself some grace. All right, let's move on to our white ribbon. I'm going to make this a little bit longer, guys, because I want to be able to curl our tails. So I'm going to measure a 17-inch tail, and then I'm going to just give that a little pinch and pleat here, lay that underneath my thumb right on top of that last ribbon we used, give it a hard twist. And I'm just going to eyeball these loops, guys. I want them to be about an inch or so shorter than that 4-inch ribbon. But again, not looking for perfection. Don't get wrapped up in everything being perfect, guys. It's the glory of creating. Just make those tails about an inch shorter on each side. Pull them up together and make sure they marry at the same point. And cut off another 16 to 18-inch tail. And now we're going to do the exact same thing with our black ribbon. Again, a 16 to 18-inch tail. And then we'll give that a little pinch and pleat. Lay that underneath our thumb. Give that a hard twist. And then make those loops the exact same size as your white loops, or as close to exact as you can. So it's under my thumb, giving that a hard twist. Gosh, my ribbon's a hot mess. And folding that guy into a loop. And we'll cut off a tail again at 16 to 18 inches. And then grab your pipe cleaner or whatever you've chosen to secure your bow. Wrap that guy around the middle here. And then on the back side, give that several super duper duper, as tight as you can get it, twists. Just like so. I'm giving it a good 4 or 5 tight spins. And this is what it looks like. I always like to show folks what a bow looks like when you first make it, because guys, they're not cute. They're not pretty. We have to make them pretty. So I'm just going to grab a hold of my bow. I'm going to make sure those 1.5-inch tails are pointing down. You don't have to worry about the 4-inch tails. And then we're going to come back into our swag, find a couple of neighboring pine ties. And guys, those ties, you know, they go all the way down to the spine of your swag, and we don't want our bow to sink that low. So we're going to make a false bottom. Let me zoom in here. So what we're going to do is twist those ties about 3 inches or so above where that spine is, like so. And then I forgot to mention earlier, guys, after you secure your bow, go ahead and trim off those pipe cleaner ends. So let's come back in here, and we are going to secure our bow down in that false bottom set of ties that we just made. If you've got any leftover ties, just tuck them back behind, but mine were pretty short, so I didn't have that issue. All right, guys, we've just added our bow. And we're going to do now what I like to call the rough fluff. So I'm just going to open up those loops with my hand. I always start at the bottom. So that would be our 4-inch. And then I'm just gonna form our black and white 1.5-inch loops into an X. Again, this is the rough fluff. We'll come back in once we're finished. Let's go ahead and dovetail our ends. So to dovetail, you're going to fold the ribbon in half, grab your scissors, and on the folded side, not the open side, come down 1 inch or so and then cut up diagonally to the corner. And then when you open that, you'll have that nice, pretty dovetail. When you're trimming ribbon tails, guys, I always caution you to cut gingerly. You can always take more off, but you can't put it back on. So let's do the same thing to the other side. I've just folded that ribbon in half. I've come down about 1 inch. I'm cutting up diagonally to create that dovetail. And we're not going to worry about these tails at all right now, guys. In fact, we'll just flop them out of the way. So now we've added our super cute. So let's make some ribbon tails to add to the top of our swag. So I'm just going to take that 4.5-inch ribbon, and I don't like my tails to stick out too much farther than the swag, guys. So at a quick rough measure, I'm going to need about a 13-inch piece of the 4.5-inch. We're just going to need the one piece. And then we'll cut an 11-inch piece, a single 11-inch piece of the black. And then we're going to cut a single 9-inch piece of the white. Go ahead and grab a pipe cleaner again. So once you've got those pieces laying on top of one another, go ahead and fold that ribbon stack in half. Give it a little pleat there, and that'll just help you identify that center point. And then we're just going to pinch and gather like so until it basically looks like a men's bow tie. I'm actually using a half of a pipe cleaner that was left over from a previous project. I always keep a few of those on hand. And we're going to give that guy 2 or 3 tight twists to secure that ribbon stack nice and tight. And then we're going to trim off those excess bits. We're going to kind of fold that into a V. And we're going to dovetail the ends of all of the ribbon. So you're going to fold it in half, come down about 1 inch, and cut up diagonally. All right, we've got all of our tails dovetailed. They're secured with that little pipe cleaner. We're going to add this into our swag just somewhere near the top. Just find 2 neighboring pine ties. Again, create that false bottom by giving it a couple of twists higher up from the spine. Place those tails right down into the center of that V at that false bottom. Give it a couple of tight twists. If you have excess pine ties, trim those guys off and toss them away. And then we're going to do a rough fluff of these tails. So I'm just pulling them away from the center like so that they're pointing up. And we'll come back in once we're finished. Guys, this is going to have such an elegant vibe. And now it's time to add in some embellishments. And I've got some Christmas ornaments. When you add Christmas ornaments into your wreaths and swags, guys, make sure that they are shatterproof. You'll see a sticker on there somewhere. But when wreaths, of course, we always want them to be shatterproof, but when they're out in the freezing cold, that makes them extra brittle. So you definitely want shatterproof, to maintain the integrity of your wreath or swag, and also, to keep your customers safe. So I've got 3 different types here. Let me show you these that I just love. They're like little white fur balls. They're so stinking cute. I've also got, how big around are those? These are 3-inch ornaments. So we've got these super cute little white snowballs, the black and white check. I've got some smaller black and white check that have some pine cones attached. I grabbed these because they looked super cute. However, as much as I adore them, now that I think about it, I don't want the sayings on the ornaments to conflict with our message of Oh Holy Night. So we're going to skip those. You guys, how fun are these balls? Those are so stinking cute. Now, if your ornament comes with some sort of a string or floss hanger, go ahead and cut those off. And so then the top part of those ornaments, or essentially where that hanger, the metal hanger or the string is, that part will actually be what goes down into your swag, because we've cut that or tinkered with it so it's compromised. So we want to give that some glue and add that in for that strength. So I'm going to add one white and one black and white checked ornament down to the bottom of our swag, but I don't want them side by side. I want them kind of whimsical. And so what you want to do, guys, is really give that guy 2 or 3 full squirts of glue. So you really want that to be at least the size of a quarter, preferably a $50, so that guy doesn't go anywhere. And just press that down in. You don't really want it sitting on top. You want it nestled. And once you've got him in place, just give it a good 15-second hold to give it time to grab. And we're going to do the same thing with our black and white. 3 or 4 full squirts of glue. And then we're going to nestle that guy down in. And again, give it a good 15-second hold. All right, so let's take a pause. Aren't those super stinking cute? I love those little white snowballs. I'm going to grab this cardboard tube. This is actually the center part of a used up roll of 10-inch Deco Mesh. I always keep one handy because this is a great way to curl your wired ribbons. Kind of like a curling iron, guys. And so I want to curl our long tails. The reason why we cut them longer is because, you know, when you curl them, they reduce length. So to curl your wired ribbon, you're going to start at the bottom of your ribbon. And again, just like a curling iron, curl that guy up. Just like so. And I usually get pretty close to the center of my bow. And then release. How stinking cute is that? You can give that a little tug if you want to loosen up that curl, or if it didn't curl the way you want, just curl it again. So again, I'm just curling that ribbon close to the base of my bow and releasing. And we'll do the same thing over here. Adorable. I'm going to go ahead and trim those 4-inch tails. They're just about, an inch or so too long for my liking. I don't really like my wide ribbon tails to hang over the wreath or door swag that much, but that's just personal preference. You can sure let them hang how you'd like. You guys, that is so stinking cute. I'm going to add these flowers in, but I think they're a little bit too large. I'm actually thinking that the smaller black and white ornaments might be a better fit. Just place that guy right down in there. Oh yeah, I think that'd be adorable. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off that hanger and be mindful that I don't cut too close. It's got those little cute pine cones up there, and so I want those to be seen. So I'm going to actually put some glue on the side here, on the lower side. Again, 2 or 3 full squirts. You want that guy to be nice and stable. And give it a good 15-second hold. I'm going to spin this guy around so it's going to look upside down here. We've got our cute ribbon tails up here that we've already dovetailed. We can round those with our fingers. That's the glory of wired ribbon, guys. It'll take whatever shape you want it to. We're going to add some more of our ornaments here. So again, I'm just going to grab one of the white and one of the black and white check. We'll cut off those strings. I'm just going to add one on either side. Again, 3 or 4 full squirts of glue. We don't want that guy to go anywhere. And we'll do the same on the opposite side with the black and white. So while that glue finishes drying, remember we've got the sides of our swag as well, and they're looking kind of unattended. So let's go ahead and add one of the white, the black and white check of the larger ornaments to each side. And I'm going to put them opposite, so I'll probably put white, white, black and white, black and white. We're going to go ahead and add one of our smaller ornaments to the top, right there where our ribbon tails are added in. So I'm just trimming off that hanger. And I want people to be able to see those cute pine cones and little embellishments. So I'm just going to put some glue on the bottom of the back, but not all the way down, because we're going to place this guy at an angle and give him a good 15-second hold so that he can get a nice good grab. You guys, this is coming together so stinking cute. Adorable, and it's just looking really stunning from all directions, which is just what we wanted. I've got 2 more of the smaller ornaments, and we're not going to let those guys go to waste. So we're going to cut those hangers off and get them a home in our swag. All right, guys, last but not least, we're going to add in some of our winter greenery. We're going to use this heavily frosted winter greenery from Hobby Lobby. If you are new to wreath making, guys, you will soon learn that florals and greenery are typically your most expensive addition to your creations. Hobby Lobby has their greenery and florals on sale for 40% off every other week. So be mindful of your flyer when you know you're going to need to stock up. I've grabbed 2 of these bushes. We may only need 1, I'm not sure yet. And I've trimmed off all of the individual bits of greenery, so they look just like that. They're a couple of inches long, and we're going to add them in sporadically throughout our swag. I'm definitely going to tuck a few pieces near the bow and the ribbon tail base just for some extra bougie cuteness. And so to add these guys in, you're just going to run some glue right here at the stem. And you don't want to do it over your swag in case you drip. Nobody wants to see dry glue. And then you're just going to nestle that guy right in, just like so. Let's do one more together, and then we'll sprinkle them in. Just running a bead of glue along that stem at the base. And then finding him a good spot to nestle. I'm going to hold it about 10 seconds and move on. Go ahead and sprinkle as many greenery bits as you would like throughout your swag. Make sure you give attention to the sides as well as the front, and I'll meet you back here. All right, you guys, I have finished adding in all of my greenery bits. I ended up using 1 3/4 of those frosted winter bushes, and look how stinking cute this guy turned out. And we are finished. I sure hope you enjoyed creating with me today. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my little channel to grow. Thanks for spending time with me today. Happy crafting.